Welcome to my next Lost. Season 3 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am and rewatch, you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, everyone, I've already seen Lost 3 times. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I wanted to rewatch the show to let it resonate, but I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man, who you see in my comments section for Lucifer, Dexter, and Breaking Bad videos, is actually watching Lost for the very first time. So, join us on a journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show. However, I don't want any spoilers past this episode. But with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 3, Episode 9. The title of this episode is called Stranger in a Strange Land. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we start off with Sawyer, who's singing to himself while he and Kate row back to the main island in the canoe with the unconscious Carl. Kate tries to convince Sawyer to turn around so they can rescue Jack, but Sawyer says it's too dangerous, and Carl agrees that the others would kill him. I don't think they would. Carl mutters a phrase that he heard from the Room 23 video and then falls back asleep, and Sawyer says sorry, but Jack's on his own. Back to the island, we have Tom, who enters the aquarium in order to move Jack, but Jack accuses him of using it as an execution. Tom asks Jack what kind of people he thinks the others are, and Jack rattles off a list of their crimes, especially when they hung Charlie out for death. And then Tom asks if Jack wants some stones for his glass house and suggests he cooperate. Jack is escorted out by Tom and 2 others. As he is led out, he passes Juliet being led into the aquarium with her hands in cuffs and restrained by a group of others. As they pass, Juliet says to Jack, "Hey." Juliet stares at Jack from her cell as Tom confers with a female other who we don't know yet. And then Jack leaves his hut. This is a flashback. Jack leaves his hut on the beach in Thailand and admires the scenery and is greeted by a Thai boy whose only English seems to be, "Dr. Jack, want soda?" Jack buys 2 sodas and gives him a tip. He starts to assemble a kite but struggles to put it together. And then a Thai woman on the beach is amused at his predicament, walks over and helps him put it together and helps him fly the kite. She introduces herself as Ashura. Back to the island, Tom brings Jack lunch in the bear cage, and Jack asks who the mysterious other woman was. Tom refers to her as the sheriff. Jack asks why they moved Juliet, and Tom tells him she's in trouble. Jack is told to not to start any trouble, and Jack says he knows about the cameras, that they're, of course, watching him. Sawyer and Kate continue to bicker on the canoe. Sawyer is rowing towards the nearest part of the shoreline, but Kate wants to row all the way to the main camp to get help from Locke and Saeed. Sawyer becomes angry and points out that they have no food, no water, no map, and he can't steer in the dark. He tells her if she wants to contribute, she can gather firewood, and without waiting for her reply, snaps, "Glad we agree." Kate gives him an angry look as they continue to the shore. Over a campfire while it's still light out, Sawyer offers Kate fruit, which she refuses. Carl tells them they shouldn't fight because they are lucky to be alive. Kate asks Carl about the others. He reveals that they live on the main island and only work on projects on the smaller island. As for the children that were kidnapped, they give them a better life. Kate asks, "Better than what? Better than yours?" Carl tells her pointedly he predicts that there won't be a moon that night, and that says that he and Alex were younger they used to lie out at night in their backyards and make up their own names for the star constellation. Juliet is escorted to Jack's cage so that she can request that Jack help Ben with an infection around his stitches. He asks if she wants him to help Ben so she can go home, but she reveals that she is doing it to get out of trouble for killing someone. Jack refuses to help Ben or her. Back to our flashback, Jack and Ashura eat at a restaurant where her brother serves them food, calling Jack very brave for trying the local delicacies. She asks Jack why he doesn't know how to fly a kite, and he starts to tell her about his childhood and his father, but she stops him, saying some things are personal. She asks if he is trying there, to find him, if he's there to find himself. They're interrupted by a Thai man who gives Ashura a thick envelope, which she puts in her purse after exchanging the Thai wai, and explains only by saying she has a gift. The older other woman, so this is back to the island, the older other woman approaches Jack and speaks Chinese, explaining that she is reading the characters in Jack's tattoo. That's a Japanese tattoo that he has. And actually, it's a tattoo that Matthew Fox actually has. She comments that the meaning is ironic and that then she asks Jack if he knows what it means since it can be hard to translate. Jack insists that he does, introducing herself as Isabel. She asks that, and I must say this Isabel character, I've seen it 3 times. I don't remember her at all. So, yeah, maybe I'm missing parts of this series that I don't remember Isabel at all. But anyway, she asks that he come to the room in the Hydra so she can ask him some questions. They pass Alex, whom Isabel firmly suggests should visit her father. Isabel faces Jack as Tom and Juliet look on. Juliet is sitting on a chair with her hands bound. Isabel asks if Juliet asked Jack to kill Ben. Jack denies it, saying he made it up to gain an advantage. Isabel asks him why he is lying, and he requests to be returned to his cage. Back to our flashback. While Jack is sleeping, Ashura sneaks into his room, undresses, and slips into his bed. As he wakes up, she asks if he has a question for her, and he says it might be nice to know something about her after a month of her coming and going. She says, there are things that happened here that he would never understand, possibly referring to her powers. They roll onto the floor, kissing, and she suggests he stop asking questions and let's have fun. Back to the island, Jack wakes up in the morning to a group of others watching him. A woman approaches, and he recognizes her as Cindy, the flight attendant from Flight 815. She was a part of the crew with Mr. Echo and Ana Lucia. Rest in peace to those 2 characters, by the way. He asks her why she is with them, and Cindy says that it's not that simple, and claims that they are here to watch. A young girl unknown to Jack, Emma from the tail section, who Ana Lucia saved, approaches and has Cindy ask Jack how Ana Lucia is doing, which angers Jack and yells at Cindy to go. She and the others leave, including a boy, Zach, who hands his teddy bear to Emma, his sister. So they were in the episode with Ana Lucia, Mr. Echo, Bernard, and all that. Ana Lucia I can't remember which one Ana Lucia had to save. It was one of them. And then back to the island, we have Kate, or we're still at the island. Kate wakes up and sees that Carl has disappeared. She shakes Sawyer awake, and they begin to search for him. But they hear Carl nearby crying, and Sawyer tells her that he will deal with him. Boys only. And Sawyer punches Carl in the shoulder and tells him to cowboy up. Sawyer comforts him and suggests he go back to Alex, though Carl says they would kill him this time. Sawyer suggests that for a girl he would name dumb stars with, it may still be worth it. Alex throws a stone at the security camera outside Jack's cage and breaks it. She asks Jack why he would help. Then, after what he did to Jack, Jack demands to know what is going on with Juliet. Alex explains that they are reading Juliet's verdict. They are strict about killing their own, demanding an eye for an eye. She reveals that Juliet killed Pickett to help Kate and Sawyer escape. In return, Jack tells her that he helped Ben simply because he said that he would. He asks if Ben is still in charge. Alex says he is, and Jack tells her to get him out of the cage and take him to Ben. Jack storms into the operating room and warns a make-do nurse in the room that they aren't treating Ben properly. Ben's wounds are seriously infected, and it's possible he might not walk again. Jack says he'd be more impressed if they had a proper surgeon, and Ben says they used to have one. Ethan. Jack bargains with Ben, offering him proper treatment in return for him committing Juliet's death sentence. Ben warns him that whatever Jack thinks Juliet did to help him, she's still one of us. But Jack presses on, and Ben prepares to write down his orders. Back to our flashback, Jack follows Ashura to what appears to be an exclusive private tattoo parlor. She says this is where she works and that he shouldn't be there. She says that she is not a tattoo artist, that her gift is the ability to see who people are, and the tattoo defines them and marks her customers for her vision, or with her vision. Jack demands to know what she sees about him, but she protests that she is not allowed to use her gift on an outsider. He insists, and she reveals that he is a leader and a great man, but this makes him lonely, frightened, and angry. Jack makes her tattoo him, even though she claims there will be consequences. Back to the island, Jack and Alex storm over to the deliberation room, where a group of others are readying to give Juliet's verdict. As she looks on, Tom grabs Jack, but Isabel stops him and takes Ben's orders from Alex. Ben has commuted Juliet's sentence as the rules don't apply, but also ordered her to be marked. The next day, Jack exits his hut, back to our flashback. The next day, Jack exits his hut, but this time the Thai boy, who usually gives him soda, runs away from him. Chet and a group of Thai men, that's Chet is Ashura's brother, approach Jack, uncover his tattoo, and mercilessly beat him. Chet orders him to leave the beach and the country. He spits on Jack, and the group of men walk away with Ashura as she is moved to tears. Juliet brings Jack a grilled sandwich with toothpicks to him in his bear cage. He asks to see her mark, and she reveals a brand with a small circle and 8 radiant lines on her lower back. He points to an aloe bush and gets her to bring him a leaf, which he applies to her raw brand. She asks why he helped her. He says he did it so that Ben would keep his word to let both of them leave the island. She says now how, and Jack says together. Juliet informs him that they have to go back to where they live because Jack's friends will come to the island to look for him. And then Jack asks where, and she says that Ben calls it home. Kate argues with Sawyer about him letting Carl go. She complains about him ordering her around. Sawyer says that she is just angry because she feels guilty not about leaving Jack, but for having sex with Sawyer. He says that she only did it because she thought that he was going to die. A speechless and hurt Kate simply tries to brush off the comment, and the two move on. The others are gathered around a boat, and Isabel tells Jack his tattoo reads, "He walks amongst us, but he is not one of us." Jack says that the Chinese letters may say that, but that isn't what they mean. Jack, Ben, who's on a stretcher, and 2 others row out to a larger boat. Later that night, Sawyer looks sadly after Kate as she leads the way as they head back towards their camp. Elsewhere, Carl sits by a fire and looks at the stars. And then later, Alex looks up sadly at the same night sky that Carl looks at the same time as he sits at his camp on the island. Juliet looks at Jack as they and the others travel through the night on the larger boat. And that's what ends this ridiculous episode of Lost. So this is so far the worst episode of the series, rewatching it. I'll give the episode a 5.9 out of 10. It just, I don't know, it's boring. Didn't really amount to anything, and I didn't even remember that character of Isabel. And I know she's in another episode at least, but I didn't remember her at all. And I've seen the show 3 times, but I don't know. Characters of the episode, obviously Jack Shephard, and I'll give the secondary character to Sawyer. So you've heard everything that I had to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Lost. Remember, you'll be interacting with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man. No spoilers past this particular episode. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, share your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDF TV.